Welcome to Hockey Whiz Talks podcast. In this podcast, I'll be doing an NHL free agency tracker. In this podcast, I'll be talking about the major free agent signings during the NHL trade deadline, as well as the signings that occurred before free agency even began. Here are some free agent signings that occurred before free agency. The Vegas Golden Knights acquired Mitch Marner in a sign-in trade with Toronto. He was signed to an 8-year deal worth $12 million per season. Thatcher Demko was re-signed by the Vancouver Canucks to a 3-year deal worth $8.5 million per season. Ivan Provorov was re-signed by the Columbus Blue Jackets to a 7-year deal worth $8.5 million per season. Sam Bennett was re-signed by the Florida Panthers to an 8-year deal worth $8 million per season. Brock Nelson was re-signed by the Colorado Avalanche to a 3-year deal worth $7.5 million per season. Aaron Ekblad was re-signed by the Florida Panthers for 8 years at $6.1 million per season. Connor Garland was re-signed by the Vancouver Canucks for 6 more years at $6 million per season. Brad Marchand was re-signed by the Florida Panthers for 6 more years at $5.25 million per season. Kyle Palmieri was re-signed by the New York Islanders for 2 more years at $4.75 million per season. Matt Duchene was re-signed by the Dallas Stars for 4 more years at $4.5 million per season. John Tavares was re-signed by the Toronto Maple Leafs for 4 more years at $4.38 million per season. Andrei Kuzmenko was re-signed by the LA Kings for 1 year at $4.3 million. Dante Fabro was re-signed by the Columbus Blue Jackets for 4 more years at $4.13 million per season. Ryan Donato was re-signed by the Chicago Blackhawks for 4 more years at $4 million per season. Trent Frederick was re-signed by the Edmonton Oilers for 8 more years at $3.85 million per season. Patrick Kane was re-signed by the Detroit Red Wings for 1 year at $3 million. Henry Jokiharju was re-signed by the Boston Bruins for 3 more years at $3 million per season. Yanni Gourde was re-signed by the Tampa Bay Lightning for 6 more years at $3.33 million per season. Ville Husso was re-signed by the Anaheim Ducks for 2 more years at $2.2 million per season. Jonathan Toews was signed by the Winnipeg Jets for 1 year, $2 million. Claude Giroux was re-signed by the Ottawa Senators for 1 year, $2 million. Riley Smith and Brandon Saad were both re-signed by the Vegas Golden Knights for 1 year, $2 million. Derek Forbort was re-signed by the Vancouver Canucks for 1 year, $2 million. Tony DeAngelo was re-signed by the New York Islanders at 1 year, $1.75 million. Joel Hanley was re-signed by the Calgary Flames for 2 years at $1.75 million per season. Eric Robinson was re-signed by the Carolina Hurricanes for 4 years at $1.7 million per season. Steven Lorentz was re-signed by the Toronto Maple Leafs for 3 years at $1.35 million per season. Kasperi Kapanen was re-signed by the Edmonton Oilers for 1 year, $1.3 million. Daniil Tarasov was re-signed by the Florida Panthers at 1 year, $1.05 million. And Jamie Benn was re-signed by the Dallas Stars for 1 year, $1 million, plus bonuses. Hayden Fleury was re-signed by the Winnipeg Jets. Nick Cousins was re-signed by the Ottawa Senators. Juho Lammikko was signed by the New Jersey Devils. Marcus Johansson was re-signed by the Minnesota Wild. And Thomas Nosek was re-signed by the Florida Panthers. And now a word from our sponsor. Check out my scouting blog at hockeywiz777scouting.com. Listen to my scouting blog podcast on podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/hockeywiz777scouting. Brock Besser re-signed with Vancouver for 7 years at $7.25 million per season. Vladislav Gavrikov signed with the New York Rangers for 7 years, $7 million per season. Mikael Granlund signed with the Anaheim Ducks for 3 years, $7 million per season. Christian Dvorak signed with the Philadelphia Flyers for 1 year, $5.4 million. Ryan Lindgren signed with the Seattle Kraken for 4 years, $4.5 million per season. Cody Ceci signed with the LA Kings for 4 years, $4.5 million per season. Jonathan Drouin signed with the New York Islanders for 2 years, $4 million per season. John Klingberg signed with the San Jose Sharks for 1 year, $4 million. Brian Dumoulin signed with the LA Kings for 3 years, $4 million per season. Nate Schmidt signed with the Utah Hockey Club for 3 years, $3.5 million per season. Tanner Jeannot signed with the Boston Bruins for 5 years, $3.4 million per season. Dan Vladar signed with the Philadelphia Flyers for 2 years, $3.35 million per season. And Connor Brown signed with the New Jersey Devils for 4 years, $3 million per season. Nick Perbix signed with the Nashville Predators for 2 years, $2.75 million per season. Brandon Tanev signed with the Utah Mammoth for 3 years, $2.5 million per season. Joel Armia signed with the LA Kings for 2 years, $2.5 million per season. Anton Forsberg signed with the LA Kings for 2 years, $2.25 million per season. Adam Gaudette signed with the San Jose Sharks for 2 years, $2 million per season. Corey Perry signed with the LA Kings for 1 year, $2 million. Radek Faksa signed with the Dallas Stars for 3 years, $2 million per season. Nico Sturm signed with the Minnesota Wild for 2 years, $2 million per season. Sean Kuraly signed with the Boston Bruins for 2 years, $1.85 million per season. Jake Allen re-signed with the New Jersey Devils for 5 years, $1.8 million per season. Justin Danforth signed with the Buffalo Sabres for 2 years, $1.8 million per season. Nick Bukestad signed with the St. Louis Blues for 2 years, $1.75 million per season. Parker Kelly re-signed with the Colorado Avalanche for 4 years, $1.7 million per season. Pontus Holmberg signed with the Tampa Bay Lightning for 2 years, $1.55 million per season. Alex Lyon signed with the Buffalo Sabres for 2 years, $1.5 million per season. Vitek Vanacek signed with the Utah Mammoth for 1 year, $1.5 million. Justin Brazeau signed with the Pittsburgh Penguins for 2 years, $1.5 million per season. Michael Eastmont signed with the Buffalo Sabres for 2 years, $1.45 million per season. Isaac Lundestrom signed with the Columbus Blue Jackets for 2 years, $1.3 million per season. Lars Eller signed with the Ottawa Senators for 1 year, $1.25 million. Philip Kurashev signed with the San Jose Sharks for 1 year, $1.2 million. Connor Dewar re-signed with the Pittsburgh Penguins for 1 year, $1.1 million. Mike Riley signed with the Carolina Hurricanes for 1 year, $1.1 million. James Van Riemsdyk signed with the Detroit Red Wings for 1 year, $1 million. Evgeny Dadonov signed with the New Jersey Devils for 1 year, $1 million. Cole Kopke signed with the Winnipeg Jets for 1 year, $1 million. Tanner Pearson signed with the Winnipeg Jets for 1 year, $1 million. David Rittich signed with the New York Islanders for 1 year, $1 million. Parker Witherspoon signed with the Pittsburgh Penguins for 2 years, $1 million per season. Matt Murray signed with the Seattle Kraken for 1 year, $1 million. Jacob Bernard Docker was signed by the Detroit Red Wings. Mate Blumo was signed by the Boston Bruins. Michael Pezzetta was signed by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Alex Steeves was signed by the Boston Bruins. Jordan Harris was signed by the Boston Bruins. Colin Blackwell was re-signed by the Dallas Stars. Scott Perunovich was signed by the Utah Mammoth. Philip DiGiuseppe was signed by the Winnipeg Jets. Ollie Laxell was signed by the Ottawa Senators. Matthew Highmore was signed by the New York Islanders. Justin Dowling was signed by the New York Rangers. And Kalen Addison was signed by the New Jersey Devils. Check out my hockey blog at hockeywiztalkshockey.blogspot.com. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at hockeywiz777. Here are some RFA signings. Evan Bouchard was re-signed by the Edmonton Oilers for 4 years, $10.5 million per season. Noah Dobson was re-signed by the Montreal Canadiens for 8 more years at $9.5 million per season after being traded from the New York Islanders. Matthew Knies was locked up for 6 more years at $7.75 million per season by Toronto. JJ Peterka was re-signed to a 5-year deal worth $7.7 million per season by the Utah Mammoth after being traded there by Buffalo. The Carolina Hurricanes acquired Keandre Miller in a sign-in trade, locking him up to an 8-year deal worth $7.5 million per season. Alexander Romanov was re-signed to an 8-year deal worth $6.25 million per season by the New York Islanders. Logan Stankoven was re-signed by the Carolina Hurricanes to an 8-year deal worth $6 million per season. Martin Feravari was re-signed to a 7-year deal worth $6 million per season by the Washington Capitals. William Eklund was re-signed to a 3-year deal worth $5.6 million per season by the San Jose Sharks. After being acquired from Vegas, Nick Hague was swiftly locked up to a 4-year deal worth $5.5 million per season by Nashville. Kevin Ball was re-signed by Calgary to a 6-year deal worth $5.35 million per season. Will Cooley was re-signed to a 2-year deal worth $3.9 million per season by the New York Rangers. Simon Holmstrom was re-signed by the New York Islanders to a 2-year deal with $3.63 million per season. Joel Hafer was locked up for 2 more years at $3.4 million per season by the St. Louis Blues. Jack Quinn was re-signed by the Buffalo Sabres for 2 more years at $3.38 million per season. And Mason Lohrei was locked up for 2 more years at $3.2 million per season by the Boston Bruins. The NHL offseason is just beginning, and since this year's class of free agents was rather underwhelming, I think we can expect the NHL trade market to be crazy this offseason. In my next podcast, I'm going to be talking about the RFAs left unsigned and potential trades.